Hi, and welcome to another episode of Discovering Our Gifts. I'm Jeannie, and with me is my cousin Lenny. So today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. It's the spooky season, and we thought we would share with you some of our more scarier experiences with our psychic gifts. Um, I think I can speak for Lenny when I say that I know we shouldn't be scared of our gifts, but sometimes you just can't help it, especially for me. I get spooked a lot with a lot of some of the experiences. We have been working on them. But yeah, we thought it'd be a fun perk kind of to share some of the things that scare us and how far we've come along in learning to deal with these different types of situations that come up as we've grown in this what do you call it, Lenny, in this
In the
paranormal,
world of the paranormal.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Most people do express fear initially when they're first learning to deal with their psychic gifts. Some of the things that people are just general things that most people top of the mind will say that they fear. Um, their self-confidence on whether they really have the psychic ability? Is it their
Yeah.
imagination and things like that? Will people think I'm crazy? You know, how does she know this? Will I weird people out? And the
Mhm.
top fear most people talk about with their psychic gifts is what if something bad, like a bad spirit or bad energy, attaches itself to me or my family. Yeah.
I know, I think I can check the box for each one of the things you just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's been a hard for me, it's been a hard process, in the sense that I love magic. I love everything about it. It's just really for me, it's scary to hear. I'm I have the gift of clairaudience, and it's external for me. It mostly presents itself as external, so it'll scare me, and I'm working on it through meditation and trying to be more open and just basically accepting these gifts. And we can go ahead, Lenny, because I got stuck again.
It's
I don't
okay.
know.
We're out of the flow of podcasting because we've been so busy with everything that's been going on. Um, so we can okay. Jeannie and I, we've
Mhm.
had our gifts since we were very young, and we've
Yes.
tried to deny them. We've tried to push them away. We didn't want anything to do with them because of our fears. When we
Right.
were kids, we lived next door to each other. And the 2 houses that we lived in had a lot of bad energies. Um, it scarred us.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it scarred us because those fears, the things that we saw, felt, and dealt with in those homes was the beginning of us completely trying to push everything away.
Right.
Before we even understood that we had gifts or what was
Mhm.
happening to us, we were just like, we want nothing to do with this. And as the years went on and our gifts still presented themselves, we had to kind of decide, okay, are you going to deal with this or are you going to keep pushing it away? And then we started
Mhm.
finding out information about ancestors of ours who were also gifted that we had no idea. More family coming out talking about experiences that they've had that they never shared with us before.
Mhm.
So, with all of that, it little by little, it put us on this path. And part of our journey and our awakening was not only accepting our gifts, learning how not to be afraid of them.
Right.
Um, I think we've come a really, really long way. um,
Yeah.
for example, the night we recorded our first episode, um, we had a lot of activity. It was the first time we officially connected for the podcast, all three of us to start, recording the episodes and stuff. And a lot of people came through. Ani, who you'll see on our other episodes, our other cousin Ani,
She's the brave
she
one out of the three of us.
she's the bravest one of the three of us. She was the one who was always telling us there's nothing to be afraid of and this, and that. And
Mhm.
she just kept repeating it and repeating it until it finally absorbed.
Yep.
So um that night, the first recording after um someone came through and we finished recording the episode, and I was on my back patio outside, and as I was waiting for all the recordings to convert, I kept hearing footsteps outside, and it it happened multiple times to the point where I stood up because it literally sounded like someone was walking in the grass and trying to open the gate to get into the yard. And when I stood up to look over the grill, there was no one there, but I could still hear footsteps coming. There were no animals, no raccoons, no possums, nothing. I ran inside terrified because it took me so off guard, and I hadn't felt like that since I had been a kid in those houses next door to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've gotten to the point where we actually connect when we feel spirit now. We try to get messages and answers. Sometimes they do respond to us. Sometimes they just want to let us know they're there. They have nothing to tell us. It's just like, yeah, hey, I'm hanging around type
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But when I tell you, at least for me, the fact that I've even attempted to willingly connect with anything is leaps and leaps and leaps and bounds
Oh yeah.
from what I ever imagined I would be comfortable doing or
Mhm.
being
I mean,
able to do.
correct me if I'm wrong. Well, I know for me, I can't remember for you, but I think in the first episode, maybe the first two episodes, um, where clearly you'll see us clearly saying, "No, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to
I
hear."
don't wanna grow those part of my gifts. I just wanna, my intuition,
Yeah.
manifestation, you
Um,
know.
the first of my gifts, I think that was really out there and developed was besides what is it, Claire, aliens was clairvoyance. I dream a lot. I get a lot of different types of dreams, premonition dreams, visitation dreams, all kinds of dreams. So that as an adult, that was the aspect of my gift. Most of my gifts was that. Um when I was little, I did have clairaudience a little bit more developed, and I could, what is it, clairsentience with the empaths, with the empathic, where
Mhm.
I could feel and sense all that stuff. Um, but as the years went on, it kind of, I don't know if it was mellowed out or if I was ignoring it.
I
It
think
was
it
one
was a
of
little
the,
bit of everything.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. When we connected for this, as a matter of fact, when we started planning to do these podcasts, I think I one of my first touch experiences was somebody grabbed my hip while I was in bed in the middle of the night. I just felt somebody grab my hip, and I knew it wasn't my husband because he was facing in the other direction. And I think I've told the story on probably on the first episode, but I felt something grab me, and I knew there was something else in the bed with us. I thought it was, I don't know, a rodent or something on the bed. And I started screaming and I freaked out, and I was like, but I knew that it was a grab, like something grabbed my hip. And I screamed and screamed. And my husband, we went crazy looking for whatever it was, and there wasn't anything in the bed. I cut my toe. I mean, there was all this drama, all this drama. And I had to accept what it was. I was like, okay, because I got dizzy, I think from the adrenaline rush, but also probably from at the time I didn't know what it was to protect myself and to shield and all that stuff. So I think probably some of the energy that went on between the spirit and I
Mhm.
in that transaction, who knows how long it'd been there while I was asleep. I don't know. Um, I just know that I almost passed out from the whole situation, and I had to accept the experience for what it was. I was like, okay, it was real. It happened. It was spirit. It woke me up out of my sleep. Something grabbed me. And I was not, I still am not 100% comfortable with them touching me. Um, I'm trying to be a little bit more open to it because my gifts are a lot of it's associated with touch. Like I can feel the coldness over my skin when they're near me. I'm starting to feel the tingliness now. So it's a whole process and it hasn't been, I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to this stuff. So I'm dealing with it. And then with the voices, with the external voices, most people hear it internally is from what I've read and studied on. And with me, most of my experience have been external and they're really loud, really clear. So the first time, I think it was the night of the first episode, right? It was that same first episode we recorded that same night.
Was it the same night? I
It
think
was
it might have
it was
been
it was the
week or
same
2
night
after.
that Ani had
Oh,
her
okay, yes, it
first.
was then. Yeah.
So it was the first,
Mhm.
yeah. So that same night, um, someone came through for me and they were yelling at me. I got up. No, they weren't yelling. I got up, went to the bathroom. Something woke me. It was 2, 3 a.m. Went to the bathroom when I was coming out. I had a song playing in my head while I was in the bathroom. On my way out, someone started yelling at me and it startled the heck out of me. I'm like, what the heck? I thought I was dreaming or sleepwalking or something. But it came back with the date. And when I started telling them, does anybody know? I started searching for who has so and so date. I validated the date that it was a real thing. It was a real person. I was like, oh my gosh. Um, and then the very next night, I had another experience with the most scariest voice, a creepy old, like a voice talking to me, saying a name. Um, and I was able to validate that one also. They came through with a song right after. And then even, I don't know what was creepier, if it was the voice or the fact that I turned over and snuggled up on my husband and I could feel the cold on my face.
See, I don't like that.
I could feel the cold like right on my face and on my arm. And I'm smiling about it now, but I was petrified. And then I was like, the next day, I was like, can't, I didn't want to go to sleep because I was like, I can't do this again. I cannot go through this 2 nights in a row. And I was like, no more. Leave me alone. The door is closed. I'm out of service. The Wi-Fi is off. Because it was some tips that Ani had given us for managing spirits. Uh and I did. I turned it all off. I turned it all off. It was that I think I put so much emotion into it because I was that scared. I was petrified. Um, that I shut it all off. Dreams, the whole nine. Now I'm working on it again, right? Little by little, because I didn't like the absence of it all.
Of the
It was
gifts.
yes, everything, but it was everything. It was the dreams. all the different ways that they communicate with me stopped.
Yeah.
And I did it. I think I did it to myself, kind of. And then, so little by little, I started working on it, trying to meditate because I need to work on meditation um more and work a little bit more on my gifts. And then, but I've been having more experiences as I've been more open to it and more receptive. And I've been working on surrendering to the whole process because I didn't like the absence of my gifts. It felt
The absence question.
mhm.
Was the absence of your gifts more uncomfortable than having the gifts and the experiences themselves?
Yes, because I've had dreams with me all my life, and then I'm used to it, and some of them are premonition dreams that help me with certain things, or they'll notify me of things to come. I mean, it won't. I don't get like natural disasters and stuff like that, but I will get like car trouble and upcoming drama or stuff like that. Like I'll get notifications like that, and for other people. I didn't have any of that. It was so weird not to dream, to just go to sleep and wake up the next day and have anything. It was like blank. Felt empty, maybe a little,
Mhm,
even a little naked. I,
mhm.
I couldn't sense. I've been so used to sensing
You
how other
feel
people feel.
off.
Yes. I
Yeah,
was used to sensing how other people feel and how a room feels when you walk in. I didn't have any of that. Like it was all gone.
yeah.
It was weird. I didn't like it. But I'm working on it again, and they were always, I guess they were always there the whole time. I just, when I decided to reopen the door and get my keys back, in a sense,
Yeah.
um, I asked for them to be patient with me and to be, take it little by little, take it slow with me. And that's exactly what they've been doing. I feel like they've been teaching me in a way. Um, do I still jump every time I hear someone talk to me that's not there, especially when I'm alone? Because if someone's in the room with me, it's not as scary.
Exactly. I've noticed that, yes.
If someone's with me, it's not as scary. If I'm 100% by myself and I know that there's no one else in the house, then yes, I'm gonna jump from here to there and freak out, have my little freak out session, and then try to connect again, which has
I,
happened.
yeah, yeah. I don't like when stuff happens at night. Um, During the day, even if I'm alone, yeah, it'll freak me out. Sometimes I jump and stuff, but I'm less jumpy. It's at night. I don't like it at night. That first recording when I heard the footsteps coming in and someone rustling the gate, I came running into the house straight to the bedroom, and my husband was laying in the bed, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, no, this is what I was talking about. This is the stuff that I don't want to happen." And he could see in my face, I wonder if I went a little pale or not, because
Mhm.
like it's very creepy to be outside at night and you literally can hear footsteps coming towards you, but there's no one there.
Yeah.
It just and I think I you and I had talked about it. I think I got so afraid I blocked everything, like I
Mhm.
reinforced all my shutters. And I was like, "Nope, nope, nope." And we had to talk about it a little bit because everybody was like getting all of this stuff, and I was sitting in the corner like, "No, not me. No, not me."
And
But
then
fear will block you for sure.
it will, and it's things that you don't expect. They take you like, I heard recently, as a matter of fact, I was hearing footsteps in my living room, and at first I thought it was my husband. But then I realized that it was because here's the other thing. I always look for the logical explanation first before I accept that
That's
it's
yeah,
something that it's, paranormal. So I at first I was like, okay, it's my husband. But then I realized, no, it's not my husband, it's something else. And it happened for like 2 days. I was like, okay, so now we're gonna have somebody walking around in the living room. Um, and I'm gonna have to deal with it because it is what it is, right? Because the thing with these gifts is you can't accept one or two of them.
yep. What comes through comes through. How your gifts
Exactly.
develop is how they develop. They're natural to you.
Right.
So they're going to unravel however your soul, your body manifests your gifts. Because everybody's
Exactly.
gifts manifest differently. So you
Yes.
don't get to pick and choose like we
No.
were
And
trying
then
to do.
yeah,
Oh, I just want to grow our intuition and manifestation and just
right.
learn about a little bit here and there,
Right.
you
And
know?
here's the thing. If you're I guess the word would be awake, or if you're naturally gifted where you haven't had to work at your gifts and yet they're presenting themselves, or if you're even interested in one or two of the gifts, but not all of them, once you start, you have to learn to protect yourself. And then
That's
what
the most important thing.
right. And then once you figure out how to protect yourself, which is through meditation, once you start meditating, that's like doing homework for these gifts. It's it's the
It
basis
naturally
of
expands all of them, all
all
of
of
them.
them. Yeah. I mean, it's what and we're talking off of our own personal experiences and things we've heard from other people on the internet. But just off of our experiences, that's what's happened in our cases.
Right.
Uh where we all one, we didn't even realize that we had like, for example, if you asked Lenny at the beginning of this pod of these episodes recordings, she would tell me, "Oh no, I only have one Claire or two Claire." We ended up having like
Yeah.
four out of the six main Claire. Is it six or seven main Claires? Whatever.
The 6. Yeah,
The
because I
six.
don't have the smell and taste.
Right. So she was like, "I only have one or two." I'm like, "Girl, you do this, you do that, you have this, you have that, you have them all." And then so once you start meditating, once you start trying to just trying to protect yourself as you should, you're gonna start developing these gifts. They're gonna start. I mean, just us. I I understand it could be the fact that it's three of us, three cousins from the same bloodline connecting that somehow gave us a
The
boost,
push.
or if it was just the fact that we've been doing a lot of research for these episodes. Somehow, some way, we've been like expanding quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then again, I do accept that we have these gifts since we were kids. We just somehow pushed them aside. Um,
Yeah.
and then as adults, they fast forwarded or something. I don't know exactly what it is that happened with us, but I think a lot of it is due to the fact that in my case, I started meditating. I know Lenny started meditating. Um, she didn't even want to know, like she didn't want to even meditate. Um, but we
I wanted
started
no parts of this. I wanted no
mm-mm,
parts of this because, Jeannie's had we've had scary experiences
as kids. Yeah.
and as kids and things that you experience as children stick with you a little
Hmm.
more than they do when things happen as an adult because as an adult you're more emotionally prepared. You can still be
Right.
scared out of your mind, but you can handle it better than a child can. Like it just, that fear imprints on you in
Right.
a negative way.
And then if our cousin Ani was here, she would talk about, how Hollywood portrays the
Yeah,
spiritual and
that doesn't
paranormal
help.
world in a whole different light. And it's it's true. it's true. We didn't have anyone telling us that it wasn't a scary thing, that it was a gift.
Right.
Um, because in our family, no one talks about this stuff, as
No
Lenny
offense.
said earlier in the episode. So we had all these scary things going on as kids, and then again as adults. And it hasn't I can't say it hasn't been fun because a lot of it's fun. A lot of it is cool. A lot of it is well, I like like I said earlier, I like the magical side of it,
The spirit
when
guides, connecting with our spirit guides, understanding our visions, symbols, our
yeah.
dreams better. All of that stuff has been fun.
Mhm.
Deciphering messages that we have gotten.
Yeah.
But,
That one's like a kind of like an Easter egg hunt where you have to search for the clues and figure out what this means or what that means. That was fun. I mean,
yes.
it's kind of chaotic though at the same time because it's like you feel like you need to figure out what the message is. And you
Yeah.
have all these different clues and you just don't know what it all means. But it's it's an experience for sure. Uh and if you're like me, you're gonna get scared. You're gonna get some people like our cousin Ani, she has no fear when it comes to all this.
Yeah.
She's just 100%, oh, I heard a voice.
But
Someone threw images in my head.
she also didn't have the type of scary experiences we had as
Yeah,
kids.
true.
Like, I saw a shadow person when I was a kid. I was about 10 years old, and I didn't know shadow people were a thing. I just thought I saw something in my room, and it was a solid figure, all black, and it was as an adult that I came across the term shadow people, and I started watching things on it, and that's when I realized, like, they were describing the exact same thing I saw, even down to, like, clothing,
Could
like,
you
the way it
describe it?
looked. It's it's a solid black figure. So, do you know the Halloween masks, where it has the hood and then it'll have, like, the black covering, so it looks like there's no face, like, it's just black?
Right.
It looks like that, even with, like, it'll have, like, the hood and
The
just
one you
the
saw?
yeah, and it's
Was
not
it tall? Short?
it was tallish, um, and it was average build, but it had, like, robes on, almost like a nun's robes, or, like, robes that they would wear, like, way like, centuries ago, like the way that the priests and stuff would dress, and the
Oh,
nuns
okay.
and the peasants and stuff, um, and it's a solid figure. It's
Mhm.
not see-through, it's not luminescent, it is just straight matte black, but you're able to distinguish its face from everything else, even though there is no face. There are no features, there are no nothing. And it just stood there. My brother was sleeping in my bed that night because he hated sleeping in that house by himself. He was 5 years younger than me.
Oh.
And he would always sneak into my bed. And that night he came into the bed and he just kept trying to wake me up, and he kept saying, Lenny, there's someone in the room. There's someone in the room. And I'm like, go to sleep. He's like, there's someone in the room.
There you go.
And I, like, sit up and I look, and I'm like, "Oh my god, there's someone in the room." We covered ourselves, and I'm like, "Just pray, let's just pray." And we did. I don't know why I didn't scream, um, because that as an adult, I think back, like, that would've been the logical thing. There's someone in your room, scream for your parents, but
Mhm.
I don't know why. I just act like it's not there, just it's, whatever. And yeah, it was it was a creepy, scary. like, not terrifying scary, it was just very creepy, especially as a child to wake up and see something in your room that's not supposed to be there.
Mhm.
Um, that was just one of the experiences in that house.
You share the shadow person experience. So she had mentioned that she'd seen a shadow person, but she hadn't gone into description of this shadow person. She just said, "I've seen shadow persons in prior episodes." I recently, this month, right? This past month,
That's
um,
yep.
maybe a few weeks ago, I saw, I don't know, it was like a vision type. I wasn't, I don't even know if I was asleep or awake. I know it wasn't a dream for sure because I've been dreaming my whole life. This was different. I saw, I was in bed and I saw right next to my bed uh a solid black figure, but it was small. It seemed like I would say maybe a child, a tallish child, and but I knew it was solid black, but I knew it was a female and I knew it had a veil. It seemed like it had a veil on. And it was just staring at me and I was just staring at it. And we were just staring at each other back and forth. And it was so weird because my normal reaction to anything is to scream, run, or jump. It's just, even if I'll just startle away, that's my normal reaction. With this thing, I just was like looking at, I don't know if I was petrified and that's why I didn't move or anything, but I would just look at it and it would look at me. And like you said, it had features, you just couldn't see them.
Mhm.
I knew it was a woman. I knew it was female and it had a veil. So I call Lenny the next day and I give her the description of this thing. And she's like, "That's a shadow person." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "What? No." And she's like, "Yes, that's a shadow person." And when I would you not, as soon as I started investigating and looking on YouTube, there was a picture of it right in one of the videos. I was like, "Oh my God, why am I seeing shadow people now?"
Exactly.
The curious thing was I wish I had the info and if we'll find it, we'll add it in. But one of the videos that I saw, uh, this guy was describing how he got into investigating anything and everything that has to do with shadow persons or shadow people because his child was started seeing shadows at an early age and he believed his son, so he started investigating everything that had to do with it. He started telling different stories of people he interviewed, and one of the people that he interviewed said that they were in a hospital, and I don't know how real or true anything of what I'm about to mention is, but in his story, in his video, he says,
Paul
um,
Wallace. This is Paul
is his
Wallace.
Paul
Yeah.
Wallace? Okay.
Yeah.
So in his video, he says that he interviewed a woman that had her baby in the hospital. She had I can't remember if it was a baby or a small child, but he was very ill. He was almost terminally ill. And she had lost all hope when she was there in the hospital with him. I think she was either in the room across from the baby or in the same room in the bed across from the baby.
Yeah,
They had
something
let
like
her
that.
He was so sick that they had let her stay with the baby in the hospital. And she reported that she saw a nun come in during the night and pick the baby up out of the bed or the crib, pick it up, and then held it and then put it back in the bed. When and then the person, the nun she thought she saw quickly left. Well, when she started asking the hospital personnel the next day, there was like, there are no nuns working here. When she gave a description, she described um a shadow person pretty much the way I saw it. I just saw a really small one. Um, so it makes me wonder
Because he
because
also said to
he's he said the
disrupt
baby
them.
Yes, but what
Oh,
what
yeah.
she what she said about I'm sorry, what she said about the, baby was that after that, the baby got healthy and quickly. Like, it was a drastic change from when before the nun came in to when she had put him down and left. The very next day, that baby started getting better and super and today, like he said in the video, today, that baby is a healthy, functioning, young
Adult.
man.
Yep.
Yes. So, he also said that he discovered, that with if you play a low frequency radio in the house, you won't see these shadow people anymore, like, they won't come in. He gave other
Right.
stories, but these 2 things stood out to me. The fact that that baby got healed after the nun was in the room, and then the
The
fact
low
that the
frequency.
low frequency in the spiritual world or in the paranormal world, anything that is good is supposedly at a high frequency, and
Right.
any bad energy, dark negative energy is at low frequencies.
Right.
So so if you're playing a low frequency, that means that this thing is functioning at a at a high. I mean, according to my understanding of it.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
you think it through, like if
yeah.
you use those as clues, well, if that's that, then that means this.
I mean, and I could be wrong. It's just my personal opinion on it. But the way I see it, like the way I understood, I'm like, wait, so they're functioning at a high frequency. They're high frequency beings or spirits or whatever they are
That can heal because they
that
healed
can
the
heal.
baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
so
it made me wonder if that's why I didn't scream bloody murder the night I saw it. Because it
yeah.
wasn't doing anything. It was just standing there. Just
Mhm.
standing there. And it was like and I just covered myself and, we prayed ourselves to sleep. And yeah, it always that was why didn't I scream?
And
Why didn't
I
I
didn't. I didn't
yeah.
scream in my experience. I don't know what was wrong with me. 'Cause I was like, something had to be wrong with me for me not to react. Um, but I was just staring at it and it was just staring at me. And then that's the picture. The picture that I found on the internet was of that nun. It's from his video. It's what he has on the thumbnail cover. That's
Yeah.
and I was like, this is it. This is what I saw,
Yep.
just in a smaller version. And as soon as I sent it to her, she was like, yep, it's a shadow person. I
Yep.
told you. I
Yeah.
was like, "Well, why now?" You know?
Well, we've been working so much on our vibration, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
manifestation and meditation and all of that, that, we're maybe because we're vibrating at a higher level, we're able to perceive them. Um, I've heard that they're interdimensional. Some people were saying that they
Okay.
come in and out of our reality and stuff, so they could be around us at all times. So it just depends on if you can perceive them or not. Um, so that could be a possibility. And we're just brainstorming here. So,
Yeah,
take
I mean,
everything we say with a grain of salt. But those are the things that they have found about them, and it just like she's the one who brought it to my attention. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So, and that's the thing now that we've learned about shadow people, we have an idea of what they are. It makes me less terrified. I'm not saying I wouldn't be freaked out or that I want to, but I would be less terrified if I saw something again. You know what I mean? Like less freaked out, I guess, would be more accurate. Um, it- Learning about all the things of
has
the
helped.
spiritual side has helped.
Mhm.
Yeah, to not be afraid. Things like they will respect what spirit will respect what you ask of it. Um,
Mhm.
we've had experiences of that where we've, told them, please don't do this. and they've actually listened, and they'll give you a sign letting you know, like, "We heard you. We're listening." Like the day that I told them, "Don't scare me." I've talked about this in other episodes before, but there was this one house in particular I lived in, and there was a lot of activity in that house.
What kind of activity?
Things falling by themselves all the time, light bulbs going out all the time. I would leave and come home, and cabinet doors would be open that I didn't leave open, kitchen cabinet doors and stuff like that. I would wake up in the middle of the night feeling someone there. I would sense someone was around a lot at that time. So the one day I came in from outside, and as soon as I walked into the house, immediately sensed someone was there. And I was already expecting them to like drop something like a pot, because that's things like that would happen. Like a pot would fall by itself inside the cabinet, out of the blue, like after I would sense something or whatever. So I sensed something and I was like, don't scare me. I'm not in the mood today. And I kept going in, went into the bedroom and turned on the light, and the light bulb blew out. Like it went on and immediately blew out. So they were letting me know I'm here, but I didn't scare you. Cause I
Mhm.
mean, stuff that was the one house that I lived in. I would jump all the time. Like I would just look, oh my God, what was that? Oh my God. It was like all the time. And
I would be freaking out.
yeah. And I just kept dealing, but I think that's the first time where things would start happening. And I had gotten so used to some of it that, like, if a bulb would go out at certain times, I would just, okay, acknowledge it and keep moving. I wouldn't be like running back outside the house and stuff like that. Um, but that stuff happened during the day. Now at night, when I would wake up in the middle of the night out of a dead sleep because I would feel somebody standing next to me in the bed when I would be laying in the bed, and I would, half
That's
asleep, opening my eyes, expecting to see one of my kids, because they were little at the time.
mm,
And yeah, there's nobody standing there, but I could
no.
still feel someone standing there, and you're just looking at empty space and you could just feel it. You could just
Yeah,
feel
you
someone.
can.
You
It's
feel like you're
the
not alone.
eeriest it's the eeriest feeling ever. It's exactly what she's describing. You just close your eyes. If you wanted a perfect example, close your eyes and just bring your hand towards you, and that
Yeah.
feeling that you have, that's exactly the feeling that you
Yeah.
get,
Like,
of
there's someone there. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. You know it with every fiber of your being. And
mhm,
when you open your eyes expecting to see someone and you don't see someone, but you still feel something in the middle of the night in the dark,
mhm.
that's when I would do what Jeannie said. I'd roll over really close to my husband and I would start praying until, I would fall back asleep and ignore it and stuff like that. So, as we've gone on learning about all of these different things,
Mhm.
what these sensations mean, how we can tell them, do not disturb or do not scare me, take it slow, and they will listen. Like all of that has given me comfort in dealing with
Yeah.
my guests.
Mm.
And
When I think a good example of taking it slow, when I asked them to take it slow with me, that I was, willing to try this and to accept it. I had asked for the specifically that slow with me. And I think I can't remember if I was trying to meet one of my spirit guides or what it was. I just know that that night, through meditation, I know that that night, and I mentioned this in the mediumship episode, but one of what's the game cards? What is it called?
the king, is it the
It
king or it's not the joker or the jack?
I think it's the king of clubs. is it well, the figure, the character from the King of Clubs, I saw something very similar to that. It was all black, solid black, but it had the white hair like the King of Clubs with the black stripes. It's the same style of hair. And then had a white face and it had a black bandana covering its eyes. But I saw it kind of like in a 2x2 or a 4x4 picture type deal, but it was like right here in my face. And the thing is, I could feel, like Lenny was saying earlier, that you could feel something right there, like right next to you. And in this case, it was again in my face. I could feel something. And as soon as I turned my face over, I saw it right there in my face. But it was far enough away where I could see it perfectly and distinguish everything from it. I sat up in bed, like I got so startled because I wasn't expecting to see it. Like I felt something there, but I was half asleep, so I wasn't expecting something to be there when I opened my eyes and I just saw it. I don't remember if I screamed or if I just I was out of breath or something. I just remember sitting up like I
What the
freaked out.
heck is that?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, okay, okay. So I thought about it the next day and I'm like, I I think I was a guide. It could have been a guide. It was something. Something was there. That's right. So I asked them again for, please don't scare me because I remember Lenny's words. Please don't scare me. We can do this just little by little, baby steps. The very next night, I saw him again, but he was really far away. He was like really, really far away. And then I would see him like this, like, okay, let's say this is his head. So I would see him like this, and then I would see him like this, and then I would see him like turned
Yeah,
this way.
the other way.
So it was kind of like he was doing this,
Yeah.
like looking at me from far away. And I was like, okay, he's working with me, whoever it is. It's working with me, it's trying not to scare me. But it's weird. It's it's a weird even when you get the sensation, it's it's super scary at night, like Lenny says. During the day, it's a weird feeling. I
It it is, it's surreal during the day
Yeah.
when you're fully alert, you're not half asleep, and you're fully, aware, and you can look around and say, "Okay, could it have been this? Could it have been," like, finding the logical reasons,
Mhm.
fully mentally aware, and there's no logical reasons for what you just heard, saw, or felt, then you're like, "Okay, that was weird."
Yeah.
you know? And it's that surreal feeling at night when you're half asleep and you're getting these things, or you're bumping through the house in the dark or whatever, and you all of a sudden feel someone there. It's just, and I don't know if it's an automatic reaction from all the previous scares that I've had that I'm
Mhm.
still overcoming. Um,
Mhm.
but now when it happens at night, I do that. I am tired. I don't want to be scared. Please come back tomorrow during the daylight hours. I'm too tired tonight. I need to sleep. Blah 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 blah. Um, yeah, it make, I don't know what it is, that day and night thing. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And then there's also now I used to live okay. So in the houses where we used to live next door to each other, I remember I think one of the eeriest experiences without it in daytime was one time that I was sitting in front of the top, how we had the windows, like our rooms had like jutting out windows that you could, if you wanted to, you could build like a window seat in it. um so I was sitting in that spot doing homework. I was in high school. I was doing homework, um and I could hear, and my little brother tended to do this often. um what I thought was my little brother coming up the stairs, and I was like, "Okay, here he comes. He's gonna try to scare me." But he was, he was a baby, so you could hear him stomping up the steps and walking in my room. So this time I heard him coming up the steps. I heard him walk in my room, and I felt him stand behind me, but he never touched me. And I'm like waiting to act scared and stuff, but it didn't happen. So when I turned around, there wasn't anybody there. So I don't know if it was the fact that I was by myself in the room. It was pure daylight. It was broad daylight out. And it was bright, like one of those bright sunny days. I had the window open and everything. It scared the heck out of me. I think I had all over goosebumps, those all over chills the whole
Mm.
night. I was like, closed my notebook, went downstairs.
Mhm.
I did not want to be in that room by myself. And then at night, it was horrible. At night, every night I would hear a ticking sound every night, every night. And this was a room that wouldn't heat up. Um, so I was always bundled up in my comforter and stuff. And it got to the point, and I said it in the pilot episode, our very first episode. I used to set my TV alarm for it to turn on at exactly 2:59 in the morning because at exactly the roll of the time from 2:59 to 3 o'clock, it would wake me up and I would start hearing that ticking sound. And I could feel it there, whatever it was there, and it didn't have it had a scary feeling about it. It was just not right.
Question. Now, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that I felt this, when we were living in these houses, until I heard someone say, and others, a spiritually gifted person say, it was on Psychic Kids. One of the kids said, "I always feel like there's someone watching me."
Mhm.
And I never that's what I always felt in that house. Like, I was even when we were alone, I wasn't alone, and there was always someone there. And I guess as a kid, I could never pinpoint what that feeling was because nobody's there. I'm not thinking, but that's what it felt like. Like when that kid said it, it took me straight back. Like that's that feeling I could never shake in the house. Somebody was watching me. Did
Yes.
you get that?
Yeah. And I could feel it the weird thing about it was that you know how now I can be in a room, and if there's like a spirit there, if it's not in close proximity to me, I won't feel it. I can feel if there's a heavy vibe in the room or a light vibe in the room, but I have to be pretty close to or spirit has to be pretty close to me for me to like physically feel it, like the sensing that we get. But like I can't walk in a room and sense it per se. I
The whole room as
yet
if there was someone in there, yet.
Right. Yet I say yet because I said a whole bunch of other stuff in prior videos, and this is where I am today.
Yeah. It's
So
never gonna happen. No.
y- yeah, I don't want that one. But but yet, I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but I can sense it. But in that room, I did feel it. Like the minute I walked in the room, you could just feel it, the difference. Because the whole house had that vibe, but that room in particular,
Particular.
as kids, none of us wanted it. Me and my brother used to drag his mat. That was his room as kids, and he would drag his mattress over there. And I ended up having that room as a teenager because I wanted privacy and all that stupid stuff that goes through the mind of a teenager. And that's why I chose that room, knowing everything that was going on with that room. But then again, I think I put it to the fact that it could have been I was saying maybe it was because I was a kid, but once I started, I think not even a week or 2 after being in that room, I started feeling it, something else. That's why my brother didn't wanna switch rooms.
Yeah.
He was the smart one out of the 2 of us, for sure. he you could just feel it, Lenny, when you walked in that room that and then I would get the sense of being watched from my mirror.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to wanna drape something over the mirror at night because I didn't wanna, because it was right next to my bed, and I didn't wanna see anything there. Like, it was something that I knew, and now that I think about it, now that I'm talking to you about this right now, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it was something that I knew without knowing how I knew it, but I knew it.
Mhm.
Um, and I used to wanna drape something over my mirror, and then the funny thing is that I had a strand of pearls hanging over the edge or the corner of the mirror. It was one of those old style canopy bedroom sets, ivory colored ones that I think every girl had when we were kids. It was one of those bedroom sets, and so the mirror was like kind of like ovalish, had ovalish corners.
Yeah.
Um, and I used to have that strand of pearls hanging over it, one corner. Um, and that's what I thought the ticking sound was. I thought it was the pearls ticking on the mirror. So I took those pearls out of there and it would always tick. That tick was just there at night. And that eerie feeling would just it would intensify so much at night. It was horrible. I would just turn on my TV for that. I set the alarm for that specific time to just turn on. And I think I had it set for it to turn off at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that that whole hour, because it would
Yeah.
continue ticking until like around 4 o'clock in the morning. That that sense I couldn't go back to sleep until I don't know, I would just end up falling asleep. But I used to be so scared in that room. So scared. And there was so many other things, but the sense of being watched, I think came specifically from the mirror. But we used to hear the steps all over the house and noises and doors and stuff like that. So it was a lot. I think I attribute most of my fear, I think, to
To those houses.
mhm.
Yeah.
But another thing that used to happen to me there and also happened to me when I got married was the what's it called when you it's the sleep paralysis
Oh,
where
yeah.
you're caught
In
between being
between
awake.
sleep
Yes,
and
that was
wakefulness.
oh, I had them all the time in that room, and then I had them all as an adult in another house that I used to rent with my husband when we first got married. And I couldn't in that same house had that eerie feeling, not as bad as the ones we grew up in, but it had an eerie feeling. I wish I would have known a lot of this stuff, but and maybe a good cleansing would have helped
Yeah.
with all that. But I don't want to repeat none of that. So when we got into all this, I understood you 100% when you were like, I don't want, there's not this kind of stuff that I wanted to happen because it's not. It's scary, but there's tools, right? And there's things you can do to handle all this stuff. Um,
Yeah. Learning protections,
mhm,
your protective bubbles,
mhm.
visualizations of your protective bubbles and protections. You can request your guides, your angels, whatever it is that you identify with, to circle you with their protection. And they will do all of that stuff really does work.
Bless you.
Um, they're, you know, it's all of this stuff. I personally institute all of these things, the protective bubbles, the visualizations,
Yes.
asking my guides to come in and protect me, especially if I'm ever nervous that I'm,
Mhm.
feeling someone around, but I don't know who it is. I'll ask them, please encircle me in a circle of protection, and stuff like that. And again, don't discount the power of learning about the thing that you're afraid of to help dispel some of your fears. There could be things that you assume Just like, what Jeannie was saying, from movies and TV shows and books that you may have read that aren't actually true when it comes to this stuff. I know some of the biggest fears that people have is the dark stuff. Like I
Mhm.
was saying earlier, most people are afraid of something dark and heavy attaching itself to them, their family, following them home, and things like that. Um, Again, your protections, visualizations of protections, you have authority over them to a certain degree. You can tell them, no one is to follow me, no one is to come in this place. You can cleanse your home. Oh, that's another thing. Um, this is this is a sage
Sage.
bundle. They sell bundles like this for with Palo Alto, is it?
Mhm.
Palo Alto. Um, these can cleanse and clear energies from yourself and your home. You just light the end of it, it'll smoke, and you want to go into all the corners of your home. You can do protective mantras. You can do energetic clearing mantras while you're doing them. You can
Mhm.
do um, a lot of specific things to clear, cleanse, and protect with things like sage and Palo Alto.
Yes, and
Um,
I think the most important thing with everything that Lenny is saying is you have to have faith in what it is that you're doing. You have to trust these bubbles these shields you're creating. You have to trust that the sage is going to clear. Like you have to trust that process and trust your guides. And if you believe in God, you have to trust God. You have to trust source, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in. Um,
uh,
you have to have faith in that these practices that you're putting into motion, all these things that you're doing, it's going to work. Because if not, it won't.
yeah, you need to put your energetic faith and vibration behind your
Intent. Yeah.
actions and intent, because everything is intent. Everything is
Hmm.
intent. And the more intention you put into your action, your mantras, your meditations, your visualizations, your protective shields,
Hmm.
the stronger they will be. It's just a natural, they will be stronger and all of that. So I highly recommend it. Um, we like I said, we still have moments where we get afraid and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But like the bad energies attaching themselves to me or something bad following, I don't fear that like I did before. I fully understand it can happen.
Hmm.
There are things out there, but I'm not helpless. Like before, I thought, oh my God, if something happens, attaches or follows you, like, what can you do? Like, they're dead. What are you going to do? But no, there are things you can do, protective shields and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and, knowing that has given me peace of mind as well
Hmm.
because
That was one of my biggest fears when we made the move from the States to Puerto Rico. I was like, because we lived in the house, we had moved away when we were kids. We moved back when I was a teenager, and then we made the move to Puerto Rico. It was one of my biggest fears was, is this thing gonna follow me, follow us to our new home, in a whole nother country almost. And like, I didn't want it to happen. And I prayed so hard for it not to happen. I was just, please God, protect us and let it stay. And it did, thankfully. It didn't come with us. But I was gonna say something and I forgot what it was. Lenny. Oh, um, you can pray. And prayer is another form of meditation with intent behind it, kind of, where you're putting something out there that you want to happen.
whatever
Um,
you connect with most is what's
mhm,
going to work best for you.
yes.
That's the thing. So if you fully believe in prayer, traditional prayer, and stuff
Hmm.
like that as protections, go with it because that's where your faith and your energetic vibration is going to soak into the words that you were saying and praying the most.
Yes. I had a recent experience about a month or two ago where like we said, we're all new to all this stuff. So I had an episode at night where there was something there and I was trying to be open with it and trying to sense or communicate with whatever was there. And I just got an overwhelming sensation of I couldn't breathe. And I was trying to communicate, but it whatever was there was not communicating with me. And I couldn't breathe, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't breathe. And I s- I don't want to say hyperventilating, but it wasn't, it's just, I had a difficulty breathing. I couldn't breathe right. And then so I asked my spirit guide. I was like, it got to the point where I couldn't breathe and I couldn't catch my breath. And I asked my spirit, I was like, please help me. I can't breathe. I need you to help me make this stop because I can't breathe. It's too much for me. Instantly, it went away. And I think it was the way that I called to them because I felt like, I started panicking because I couldn't breathe. And I was like, please, the same way that you sometimes will pray to God, like, because I
Mhm,
believe in
mhm.
God. So
So heartfelt.
yes, like it was from with everything that I had in me. And I just wanted to catch my breath. And I called out to them in my mind, like really, I think I shouted at them, like, please help me, make it stop. I can't breathe. And they did. It was almost instantaneously. And they gave me the words like in my mind. It wasn't an actual this time it was I guess the internal voice said to me, you're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. And then it went away. Like that. It was the weirdest thing that I've experienced in a minute because it was one of those freakouts,
Yeah,
but at the same time I fully trusted in them to help me. And that's what it's all about is that trust in what it is that you're doing, but also have faith in them, in your angels and your guides and in God, you know, they're gonna help you.
yeah,
That's what they're there for.
yeah.
Okay. You know what? Since we just mentioned prayer, it made me think of a topic that I've been wanting to discuss with you, which is witches, basically. Because, you know, with all the studying that we've been doing and research, reading up on all these subjects, um, I was like, wait a minute. If you think about it, prayer is kind of like they tell you to pray in silence, right? Keep your wishes and your prayers quiet. Um, and I don't know if this is what is it? I know was it called an old wives' tale or something,
Mhm.
or if it's actually from the Bible or where it comes from. But isn't that kind of like a spell? Like, I mean, if you think about it, at the end of the day, I think, and I'm not saying that I am, but I'm not saying that I'm not. Could this all be the same as witches? Well, I mean, back then it was called witches. Now it's called spirituality.
Right,
Um,
right. Um,
and
there have been this stuff has always been connected to witchcraft.
mhm,
Um, and I think some of it is misunderstanding. I think some of it is just mislabeling. And some of it's just another word, another name. Um, the if you look at the church, like prayer, for example, the Catholic Church, Jeannie's still Catholic. I was raised
mm,
Catholic. I did all my sacraments, confirmation, and everything. Um, but I'm no longer a practicing Catholic. but I learned all the prayers and all of that. The prayers in the Catholic religion are repetitive.
Right.
It's like the Our Father, the Hail Mary. There's the one for the different saints. They each can have a different prayer. And you're repeating the same words over and over again, which is very
Hmm.
spell like. Spells, traditionally known, are incantations and ingredients put together. And those incantations, you're repeating the same things, trying to make something happen. When you pray, especially the repetitive prayers, you're trying to make something happen, and you're using repetitive words. So
Right.
it's two different sides of the same coin, so to speak.
I just think
Um,
back then they were called witches, and now
yes. Healers, like,
they're,
listen, witches were called healers, they were called sages, they were called oracles. There have been so many different names, and they all shaman, high priestesses, all go back. They all mean the same thing. Someone who has spiritual gifts or psychic gifts. It just again, they're just names that they change throughout the years and everything.
right.
Um, so if you wanted to say traditionally, we could be considered witches because most witches wait, and that's weird. Now I understand there's a whole Wiccan community, so if anybody from the Wiccan
No,
community should happen to watch this, please forgive us. We're very new at this. We're
we're
trying
not
to
we're not
understand.
trying we're not trying to offend anybody. It's just
No.
I kind of get the sense that it's all the same thing. The
Yes.
difference is some practice with the good and some practice with the evil. Because I don't even want to title it
Good
light or
and
dark.
evil or well, light and dark, I think would be better than good or evil.
Hmm.
Only because like some people don't resonate dark with evil. You know what I
Exactly. That's
mean?
why I don't want to
Yeah.
title it
So
light or dark.
it's high vibrational, low vibrational.
There you go.
That's what it is. And it's different tools. And the thing is, like, we started reading um finding books that like are written from, I guess, the perspective of witches or
Yes.
witchcraft.
Hmm.
And so much of the stuff resonates with things that we have done, we have experienced, we have been interested in, we naturally are drawn to. So that's where the conversation of
Came
are we
from.
really witches? What are witches exactly? How does it interconnect and all of that? Um, and it's just through discussion and learning that we're trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
But I can't tell you how many times it's been for at least 3 or 4 times for certain where someone has said, "Are you a witch?"
Yes. Yes.
Or things like that, or you, yeah. So
I
like
just
literally use the word witch type
I just
stuff.
think somewhere along the line it people stopped using the word witch, and there's still, like you said, the Wiccan community who do identify as witches. I just think somewhere along the line people stopped using it the same way,
Right.
shaman, and there are still people who identify as high priestess or shaman or
Shaman or and and when you really get down to it, they are different things,
hmm.
but they're just different aspects of the same
Right. It's
spirituality, gifts, and things like that.
right. It's kind of like even with mediums. I don't I can't say right now that I identify myself as a medium because I feel more like a messenger than anything else, that I receive a lot of messages through dreams and through, even though I can hear them, I'm still learning. I don't think I would call myself a medium. I'm first of all, I'm too brand new into all of this. And then I don't think I have enough experience with it. I feel more like a messenger than anything else.
That's how I feel about it. Like, I'm so new and still learning.
Hmm.
I don't feel like I don't feel like I have the right to call myself a medium yet.
No,
You know what I mean? And I don't mean that for like you or speaking for you or anyone else. This is just me personally. Like, I don't, I feel like that's like people who legit do medium work, like they've worked to get where they are.
and,
It's been a process and a path and a journey. And I don't feel like I'm there yet to say
no.
that. Yeah. I'm a
I don't even know if I'll get there. I feel.
and that's the other thing.
Hmm.
That's the other thing. Like, you've been sensing spirit way more than I have. You've been getting messages and communications and things like that a lot more than I have. Um, and I'm
But
like,
I
I'm cool with it. And I'm cool with it. I'm
and
just like, I'm
I was on the same boat as you until felt like I closed that door on myself
right.
and kind of like lost my keys for a minute there. And then so with I didn't want to go back to that. So I was like, okay, it's either go back to that or embrace it as much as I can little by little. And that's what I chose to do. And this, I guess this is the side effect of everything that's been happening. Um, but I don't know. I just I think they're different titles for all of the same thing at the end.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing: some people develop these gifts naturally, and they don't have to work hard at them. Some people do. And then there's others that are completely oblivious to the fact that they have these gifts. And some people just aren't even, haven't even tapped into their gifts at all. You know, they can't sense anything. They're like little walking zombies everywhere. But, I don't know. I get the sense that that's what it is, that it's all the same thing. It's just different, I guess, levels or
Um,
developments.
there's that show, Outlander.
Mhm.
I've told you about it before, I think.
Yeah.
So she's a combat nurse from the 1940s, and she ends up time traveling back 200 years. And because she knows how to heal people, or she also knows like plants really well, and this works for this and that works for that. They called her every all kinds in different languages. They called her witch in like three or four different languages. They called her a healer. They called her a sage. They called her a teacher. They called her all these different things depending on the time she was in and where she was at and who she was dealing with. It was all the same thing. All this, she was working with plants and had knowledge, stuff like that, that they just didn't
Yeah.
have. And they were afraid of her because of what she knew, you know? So yeah.
It makes sense. It does. And I don't know. It's just one of those things that once I started, it's the book. What's the book? Psychic Witch. I'm trying to think of the author, but I can't remember. Mhm.
I'll put the picture up of the book, the
Yeah,
author.
it's the book. The book is titled Psychic Witch. I think it's Matt Oren, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it's a really good book for beginners, uh, like me, like her, where he goes into depth and he gives a lot of exercises, a whole bunch of different exercises on all the different aspects of being a psychic. Um, I guess the only difference is we don't actually do spells and we don't
Right.
have spell books and all that stuff. But if we wanted to, we probably could. But it's a
Yeah.
very interesting book. Like if you want a different point of view, he has a lot of good, and I'm not even finished with the book. I'm probably into like the fourth or fifth chapter. And I've done, I don't even know, more than 15 different exercises. He's got a lot of different ways and quirks of trying to boost your psychic gifts and all that stuff. And I've learned so much in that little bit of um what is it material that I've read from him so far. So, I fully recommend the book. I don't know what else is waiting for me at the rest of the book, but as of now, I fully recommend the book.
And does he do exercises for like increasing intuition
Yes.
and things like
He
that?
so far he's given tips for and exercises for meditation. He's given tips and exercises for how to identify which of the clairs you identify with and what level you are with each of the clairs. He has given he's starting into how to meet like your spirit guides. He's given tests for my ears ringing. He's given tests for it made me completely lose my train of thought. Um I'm trying
Meditation.
meditation for intuition. He has quite a few, he has a lot of exercises. I think the ones that I found interesting were the ones for waking up your, I get he calls it the witch hands. Um and I tend to sense with my hands a lot. So I was really intrigued by that part of I guess that chapter of the book. But I haven't finished it. So I went back since I want to be able to concentrate on it and be able to sit down and actually listen because I'm usually listening through it in audio. But I want to be able to sit down and actually do a lot of these exercises. But I so far I recommend the book. It's really good, especially for beginners.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. It's on my
Mhm.
list. Yeah.
If not, let me know and I'll gift it to you because I think you would like it. It's fun. It's a fun, quirky book for learning how to play, kind of like how to play and test your gifts out a little bit. I like it.
It's nice. And
Hmm.
that's the other thing. Like when you develop your gifts, for instance, in the beginning of us starting the podcast, I would constantly say, if it's family, I'm okay because I know they're family. It's when I don't know who it is, it freaks me out because I don't know what you want. What are you doing here? I can't communicate with you or anything like that. And now that we've worked on developing our gifts and I've worked on connecting and developing, and I realize I am able to connect and receive messages and communicate with them. Now I'm like, okay, I don't have to be as afraid because I can figure out what they want. I can figure out who it is
Hmm.
and all of that, like what happened with Marjorie. Um,
Oh yeah.
we were working on the podcast one night and someone came through and Jeannie encouraged me to connect and I did and I got, a name, a face, clothing, all this stuff. And then the next day, I started looking for her, and I thought she was alive, but Jeannie found the obituary for her,
Hmm.
and she messaged me, and she's like, "Lenny, she's dead." Because I was like, "No, I think she's alive. Maybe I was getting something wrong." She's like, "No, she's dead." And we got further confirmation through the obituary that Jeannie found
Hmm.
the messages that she sent me of what she liked, what she did, and why she was in the area.
Oh, and that her
And
husband had passed before her.
her husband
Was
had
another
passed
one.
before her. I knew she had to have been from the area because I kept seeing her walking the land behind my house, and I had a name. So I looked up the first name and my street address, and she popped up. And 5 doors down, she used to live 5 doors down from me, and she used to own a lot of land out here. Her and her husband owned a land operations company. He passed before her. Um, when I communicated with her, she was wearing an apron, and her obituary said she loved to bake, or cook and desserts and stuff like that. She had a hair covering when she connected with me, and her picture, she had a hat on. So that to me was so tremendous because now if I ever feel someone and I'm like, okay, who is this? What's going on? Now I have an avenue, a toolbox, so to speak, to communicate with them, find out who they are and what it is that they want. And I don't have to be afraid thinking that there's some type of dark entity in my area, like within, my close vicinity and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And when you work on your intuition and all of that, it also
Hmm.
helps you decipher if you're dealing with high vibrational, low vibrational things and stuff
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
And you
So,
have to remember if you have these type of experiences, you need to remember to cleanse afterwards. It's very important because sometimes these can be very energy draining. It can take a lot from you. The next day, even the next day, you can feel really exhausted and like if you've been doing some hard labor the day before type exhaustion. Um, and it takes a lot from you. Like I get slight coming and going headaches during. So I found that I do need to, as soon as any type of experience happens, you have to cleanse. You also have to close yourself off afterwards to make sure that they leave.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and if you can, you can also cleanse if it's in your house or whatever, you can cleanse your home
yeah.
also.
With the sage and the palo alto.
Mhm.
There's also what are the
Medit
sticks that
the incense.
incenses. There's certain
Mhm.
incenses that help clear and cleanse spaces and stuff
And
like
some
that.
meditations that you can do
And
also.
meditations as well. Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. So yeah, it's you know, these things aren't as scary as we thought it was because we're learning, we're experiencing, we're being more open to it. It helps that we're adults now too. We're not little kids trying to figure out what's going on with no one to help us. So, yeah,
Tell you something, even I think it's a little bit normal to be scared because I think it's a normal reaction. Like I don't know. And maybe it's just me and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, but I think it's a normal human what is it, a fight or flight
flight or fight rest, reaction,
instinct?
fight or
Yeah.
fight. Yep,
So is I think
it
it's
is
probably
normal.
an indicator of normalcy, being a little
Yeah,
bit normal. And I'm not
someone
saying that,
someone
yeah.
said, do it with fear. I saw something somewhere where I was looking for, tips and things that I might not have
Mm-hmm.
thought of. They were like, because everyone says, like heroes are afraid too.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it with the fear,
Yes. It's
It's
kind of like when I don't know if you've ever cliff dived or jumped off a really high ledge
I
into
haven't,
water.
but
Okay. It's
I
it
get your meaning.
That's exactly what it feels like when you're trying to soup yourself up to doing it. It's like I'll say to myself, okay, okay, Jenny, we're gonna do this. Like,
Uh-huh.
I have I don't even know what it is. It could be a visitor or what it is because I've cleansed my house. But it continues to visit whatever it is in my bathroom in this house. I mentioned before in prior episode, where I would sit in my room and wait for whoever it was that I saw out the corner of my eye going to the bathroom. And I live with my husband and my son. Um, and I would assume if I could see one of them or hear one of them, that it was the other that was in the bathroom. And I would sit here and wait. And this had been going on for a long time. I just hadn't put two and two together. So I would sit there and wait for my turn into the bathroom. And then I would ask whoever it was that I was seeing, is so and so still in the bathroom? And they were like, there's nobody in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, so I would just go in and use the bathroom, do whatever I had to do and be out. But then I would smell because I have Claire
Aliens?
aliens or aliens, however it's pronounced, I'm sorry. Um, so I can smell things that aren't there in a way. So I would smell urine, like old urine in my bathroom. And I would assume that it was either my husband. Well, when it was my son, I would assume it was him when he was younger. And then I
Little
started smelling it
boys.
again. Yeah. So I started smelling it again as they got older. And I was like, I don't know who it is that's peeing all over. And it would either be in the shower or while I would assume it was in the shower. It's like, why are they peeing all over the place? There's a freaking toilet. And I would fight over this with my husband and my son because I didn't know which of the two it was. But one day I cleaned my bathroom. Because I'm the one that'll, if you're cooking, you're cleaning right behind it. And the same thing sometimes before or after I take a shower, I'll like take care of the bathroom real quick. Especially if I haven't had time during the day or if it's something that I want to get done before the next day. So I won't have to do it the next day. So I did it and I left that bathroom clean and the same thing happened. I was waiting like a while later, I was waiting to go use the bathroom. And I thought somebody was in because I saw someone out the corner of my eye go in the bathroom. And I think I was with my husband and I was like, have you seen our son come out the bathroom? And he's like, there's nobody in the bathroom. And I'm like, wait, what? And then so I go in the bathroom and it smelled like urine, like old urine. And I'm like, and that's when it dawned on me after I don't know how many years, and even after doing this podcast, um, that it wasn't a real smell or something that anybody else could smell, and hadn't been really seeing someone go in the bathroom. It was I don't know, a shadow or something at the corner of my eye that I was seeing go in there. The thing is that fast forward to recently, it's these past few days, past few weeks, past 2 weeks, and then as far back as earlier today, I was in the bathroom. Thankfully, I had my cell phone with a flashlight. Uh, the light went out on me while I was in the bathroom. And then, so I called my husband. I'm like, hey, do you have another light bulb? And he's like, no, just, I was like, well, bring me a flashlight because I started getting scared. Right. And I was like, oh, this light. So I turned on my flashlight or whatever, finished everything that I had to do in the bathroom, and I left. The very next morning, we didn't get to change the light bulb out because we need to have another replacement bulb. Next day, it was working just fine, the light bulb. And then fast forward to like a few days later, while I was using the bathroom again, it would turn on and turn off and turn on. And then a while later it would turn off. And I can't remember what it was that I was doing or saying or reading, but it was like answers. Like they were letting me know that they were listening to me. And I can't remember if it was the time or something. It was like synchronicities. And I was like, oh, like, oh my God, they're communicating with me through the light bulb. And it's the same thing that happened to me today. I was like, the light bulb went off and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to communicate. But I couldn't hear anything. Um, but while I had my eyes closed, and this scares me a little bit to have my eyes closed and not be able to see. Because it's almost like I'm in the dark. Um, but you know how if a light turns on or off, and it happened, it turned on, and other things happened during the day. So it was just kind of like a confirmation of everything that had been happening during the day. type deal. And I was like, okay, so do you have a message for me? And a silence, but the light turned back on. And then so I waited just to see if anybody or anything would come through. And then I was like, do you have a name? And then the light would turn off. I feel like they were communicating through the light. I was like, oh man, it's still eerie to me. And I was the whole time I'm like with my hands like this, like I'm trying to stay calm and trying to do this. And who knows if I was blocking myself because I'm scared. I was scared while
True.
doing it, but I'm trying. So I understand that the best way to put that feeling is to jump off a cliff because you're doing it with fear. I mean, whoever says that they're not scared of jumping off a high ledge or a high cliff into the ocean, that I think there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to offend anybody. I don't think that's normal for you not to have because I've done it, but I do it with fear. Like I just,
Mhm.
I sync myself up and I boom and I just do it. But and I kind of like a little bit of the adrenaline rush and all that stuff, but I go for it. And I think I compare all this to that. Like I have to suit myself up. But at night it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it is.
It's a whole and I wonder, you know what, now that I mentioned about the dark meditating, I wonder if that's why I have such a hard time meditating. So I have a hard time focusing and meditating. And I've had some things come through in meditations, um, which startle me. So I think it's that fear of the darkness. And
Maybe.
and it's funny because I'm the one I will walk around in the dark. I won't turn on lights at night. I'll just walk around. Now I'm turning on the flashlight because I'm at that age where these parts they don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
And I've stubbed quite a few toes on the corners of the bed and stuff, and I tried to avoid that situation. But I will walk around the house with the lights off, but pitch blackness where I think it scares me just a little bit. It's something I'm realizing right now is my fake. So I think it's something I have to work on. I'm telling you, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. Um, yeah. And most of all, they can't harm you. They can't do anything. You have authority over them. You can let them know. Out, leave me alone, leave me be, all of that. So,
And
it's
no spirit. How can I word this correctly? Spirit or your guides, they're not going to tell you to do harm to yourself or to others.
right.
So if something like that is coming through for you, you need to,
That's one of your signs that it's something you shouldn't be connecting with,
yes,
or and you need to clear, cleanse, and remove.
yes. And if it's something you feel as though you can't handle, then get help. If you need to get, I don't know, a priest or someone who's more spiritually qualified than you are, or more prepared for all this kind of stuff, get help. Ask for
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
There are a lot of churches that will, they have groups that will come to your home and cleanse and bless your home,
Mhm.
for things. So definitely look into local community churches and stuff like that. If that is something that you do need. Um, because we've all seen some of the videos online where you see some people and they just things are flying around in their house, noises, doors closing and locking behind them and stuff like that. There are some high level things out there that you need more qualified people to deal with or you can't deal with by yourself. So, that's another recommend is the
Mhm.
professional help. Yeah. And
And
if you
if
sense anything dark, immediately close yourself off, immediately do your protection bubbles again. Even if you did it before, do it again, do them stronger, do all your visualizations and everything to protect yourself because you don't want to mess with anything that is low vibrational.
Yes.
And a quick disclaimer, we are not medical professionals. We
Mm-hmm.
are not counselors. We are not therapists. We are not anything of the medical field whatsoever. If you are hearing voices that are telling you to harm yourself or harm others, please, please, please seek professional help. Um, don't take chances with things like that. And it's just for the benefit of yourself and everyone around you. Um, Spirit and your protectors, your angels, your guides would not tell you to do things like that. So definitely make sure you get some professional help and things like that. Also, there are a lot of classes out there for people who are psychic to learn how to develop their gifts. And what I like about classes like that is they will also teach you um, deeply about protection, self protection, energetic protection, and all of that when you're dealing with certain things, and what could be beyond your level, things you shouldn't really work with, if it's beyond you and stuff like that. They really reiterate protection and things like that too. So if you're ever interested, you can take a class on psychic abilities and stuff like that, and they can get into the protective stuff as well. I think we covered everything that we were gonna cover for today. As we said, we are in spooky season, and the veil between the spiritual world and our world thins on All Hallows Eve. It's at its thinnest. So those are some of the nights if you ever wanted to experiment with your gifts or your Clair abilities and things, try and connect with someone on your own terms in a safe place, maybe a loved one or something like that, or your spirit guides. That would be a good night to try and connect and make use of your abilities and try to lose some of the fear that
Mm-hmm.
we all carry within us about this type of stuff. If you're unfamiliar with our other videos, we wholeheartedly invite you to check out our other videos on our channel. We get really into depth about all things psychic and paranormal. And we also relay a lot of our own experiences with those topics.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you would like to get more in-depth information about everything from Clair abilities to, from the chakras and things like that, definitely check out our other videos on our channel.
We thank you for spending your time with us and hope you'll join us on another episode of Discovering Our Gifts. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you have any scary experiences you'd like to share with us, please comment them below. And remember to trust the process.
So we invite you to check out blah, 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 blah.